I'm
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
confused by the new graphic though. Where's the beard part?
Where is it?
Oh,
Where is
look
it?
at Joe in the chat.
There we go. Let's get to it. We are joined by the head coach of UC football. Coach, you kick off hour number 8 here on the stream as we have been rolling along all day. How are you? How has the day been? How have you been enjoying 513 day?
It's been great. It's awesome. What you can have a better day. I think it's a great time to be a Cincinnati Bearcat, that's for sure. We're excited. I know in football because all our guys came back today. So we had a bunch of guys all through the weight room today, and got a chance to see those guys. They've been going for about 3 or 4 weeks now, so it's good to get them all back and get this summer started. They're excited, and so we're ready to get this thing rolling this summer.
Also excited. Are the new guys here today? Are the transfers here today?
Not the ones from the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
I think we have maybe 2 here right now. The rest of the guys are finishing up all their stuff. They got to get finished up as far as getting accepted and get accepted here so they can start working out. But I think that's going to slowly happen each day this week. Surely we'll have all of them by next week.
What was the summer like? I'm sure a little less chaotic than a year ago when it seemed like you had pulled in a million different directions. Was there some stability? Was there some a chance to kind of be strategic this summer instead of just trying to like plug a bunch of holes and put out a bunch of fires?
Oh yeah, I mean we definitely had a plan as we really it started last year. Whenever we're working this class, it starts with the high school class. We signed 21 of those guys, and 10 of them came in January. 11 of them will be showing up here within the next couple of weeks once they graduate. So, and then we jumped into the portal there in January. We brought in 17 guys. And so we had a great idea about what we needed to go after, this time around, in this May period here. And really it's just kind of plugging in a few holes, guys that hopefully can come in here and help us in a couple of different capacities. Now, a few of these guys, they'll be competing for starting jobs. There's no question about that. Other guys will provide depth, and there's other guys that are coming in that have years too. So, which is exciting for us to be able to bring in some guys that, maybe they don't have to start right now, but they'll be in that rotation, and then we'll be able to use those guys for the next 2 to 3 years.
Coach, you mentioned the team's back on campus, back with you guys. What's the main objective these next couple of days and in upcoming weeks as you get everyone infiltrated back in the workout system?
Yeah, I mean, I think really, this as you first get back like this week, it's really just kind of a build-up week. We're getting them all back in here. We're going to start our draft process that we did back in the winter with our 6 crews. We have 3 captains that will be with each crew. We're going to have our draft that's going to be held, I think, Thursday. Thursday, we're going to do the draft. And, so they're kind of getting acclimated back into things, this week. And then next week, it'll really, really get going and, full board with everything, with Coach Nico and his staff and all those guys and running and lifting. Guys will be out throwing. I mean, I saw some guys out there on the day on their own kind of doing some things on the field. But, you'll slowly, gradually build that up. And, throughout this whole summer, they'll get some time off the July 4th week. They'll come back after that. You really get about 2.5 weeks, and then we get ready to start camp. So, summertime for us really is going to be a time to get everybody in here. You got to think about you bringing in so many new parts, and this is like this in college football and I guess basketball too every year. But, when you're bringing in, I think we got 9 transfers and that's coming in right now. You have 11 high school guys. You just brought all those guys in January. So, really, this time right now is how connected can we become as a football team this summer? Because all these guys are getting to know each other. And what their strengths, their weaknesses, how they carry themselves, their leadership style, all those type things. We want to work through all that this summer and become a tight unit. I really like the character of this team. I think we got some guys that are going to come in here and work extremely hard. When things don't go their way, they're not going to pout about it. I think they're just going to keep working. So those are the things you want to get worked out in the summertime and let those leaders really rise to the top and lead this football team.
Coach, it's just us. We're in the circle of trust here, and we want to know your actual real thoughts. Tyson Veit brings in an entirely new defense here. What do you really think about what you've seen on the other side of the ball?
Well, I mean, I like what we've seen so far. I mean, I still think we're early in the stages of putting in this defense. You know, especially when we first started in the spring. I mean, the first probably 5 practices was just base defense. I mean, we didn't try to do anything. I maybe had 2 coverages and just your base front. And then once we got into it a little bit, we started adding some things, put some pressures in. Right by the end of spring, the spring game, we didn't do anything really, kind of just dropping 8 really the whole spring game. Didn't really show a whole lot. But I think I like the defense. It's very multiple, although we didn't show any of that. It is multiple. You are playing with 5 safeties or 3 safeties and 2 corners. So really 5 DBs that are in the game. And really and truly what's unique about it, there is 3 true linebackers with the Sam, Mike, and Will in this defense. And then you have your 3 defensive linemen. And there's a lot of things and variations that we can do within the defense that I'm excited about, looking forward about what we're going to be able to start putting in. There's a lot of areas for guys, depending on what their talents are and what their abilities are, they can move to different positions. I do like the versatility of the defense. You're not really just have to be stuck at one position. I mean, there's a couple different positions depending on what your skill set may be. I like Coach Veit. He's intense. I mean, he comes out to practice and he doesn't quit yelling and blowing his whistle. So it's kind of funny to me, sitting over there on the offensive side as we watch practice and see how he carries himself. But I love it. The guys are having a good time. They're having fun. They're flying around.
Royer.
What's up, guys?
Welcome in, Ryan. Ryan just got off work, Coach. He's got a real job. He doesn't get to sit around and podcast with us all day.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I just got back from Florida, so I wasn't hitting the links out there like we were, though. Coach said the other weekend. Yeah. I got a question though about you mentioned you're bringing in the high school guys and like the new transfers. How do you treat the difference between like transfers and high school kids, being that some transfers might have some to plenty of like real in-game or just years of experience at the college football level, and then you have your high school kids that are brand new. They don't have a dang clue about what's going on. So do you guys like just say, all right, you guys are both new guys, we're going to evaluate you guys as new guys, we're going to like take you through the process as both as new guys, or do you kind of like pick and choose based on different experience level for high school versus transfers?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think it's totally different, actually. I mean, you think about a high school player that just gets in, all they know is the high school ranks. All they know in high school is what their, probably their head coach that runs the weight room, what they've done with them. We really take it slow in the weight room and the running with the high school guys. We kind of really ease into it because we want to teach them the proper form, the proper technique of everything that they're trying to do in the weight room. Number one, for safety, but also so they can have tremendous gains. I think once you teach that technique and then they start, working that technique, they really have some great gains, as far as power clean squats, in particular, those 2 lifts. And then on the field, when you talk about all the different agility runs that you do, a lot of them are not real familiar with what we're doing at the collegiate level. So really have to teach those guys that. And, when it comes to the transfer guys, depending on if they've been in college for a few years, a lot of those guys already kind of know the drill. They're just getting in, all right, what are we doing here at this program? The terminology may be a little bit different, but they pretty much understand that. So we try to put those guys in groups. So like the first couple of weeks, we'll put these high school guys, they'll all be in the same group together. So we're just going to teach those guys, and we'll take these transfer guys and we'll just put them in intermix within the team. And once those high school guys gets a couple of weeks in there, now we'll go ahead and start putting them with the rest of the team as well, and kind of slowly, gradually put them in that. But it is a difference for sure. Also maturity, their bodies. There's a lot of different aspects. I talked to some of the freshmen that are coming in, their eyes are huge. And they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Like, we got to do what? You got to come in here 30 minutes early, get you some food in you before you go lift so you don't pass out on us. And then when they start lifting, they're looking around going, my gosh, there's some grown men in this weight room, and they're asking me to lift all this weight, so it is a big difference. But, some of the guys that have come in, like a Gavin Grover, who was a freshman tight end, he comes in, he's 6'6", 6'7", 250 pounds. He came in today. I think he's 260 now. I mean, he's a big dude playing tight end. I mean, so he's a guy that's a little bit more mature compared to like a Cale Woodburn, who's, 149 pounds, little wide receiver. So, I mean, it's a big difference in how these freshmen are when they come in.
Coach, before we move on, I want to go back into Aaron's little circle of trust here. How terrible of a golfer was Ryan Royer?
Well, he's got a good smooth swing. I think
don't lie now. Don't lie to the people.
Maybe a little distracted with some of the things that was going on at the course that day. So I don't think I saw his best game, but I guess he's got something in there somewhere.
Okay, there we go.
What about that putt? That putt where I used a choice line that I may or may not have realized that you were in our golfing group. I may have not have used that. The choice line I used, I won't repeat here.
No. I'll say this, we had a good time.
You get all those NFL you get all those NFL guys, man. You get them in there. They're riding high, playing golf all summer, and they start talking the smack. I sink a 10-foot putt. I think I'm Tiger Woods. I got to kind of let them know that I got something in me, just a little bit.
No doubt. We had a good time. It was always fun playing with the boys.
Yeah, it was great. It was.
Coach, you got to find out real quick that Ryan's got a real poop mouth.
I don't know, man.
Coach, he was pretty tame that day, maybe because I was around there, but he's not too bad.
Coach, you were able to land some transfers over some big time power programs. What do you think it was? Do you think it was the messaging that you guys had behind your recruitment? Do you think it was Cincy Reigns really hitting its stride, becoming one of the better collectives in the country? What do you think was the genesis of those guys coming to Cincinnati?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, quite honestly. I think, with going out and talking to some of these recruits and really trying to sell, what we are selling as far as the football programs, that, as far as what that goes. And then it depends on what position they're playing and the need that we have. We got a bunch of great coaches, and they do a great job of building relationships really in a quick pace. We think about transfers, it's like speed dating. So, you got to be on them, and you got to text them and call them and constantly. And then you got to, if we can, we go see them, and then, and then we bring them in. And so you're doing all the relationship stuff, and that part's been great. I don't know that we've lost many of those battles when it comes to that, because our guys are great with relationships. And then it comes down, it's for some of these guys, it's some business aspect. And that's where I think Cincy Reigns and Ken and his group have done an unbelievable job, with our collective. They are so professional and so, top notch in their approach. They're very consistent in what their messaging is, and it has resonated with a lot of our guys. And some of these guys, because obviously they're going to talking to other collectives and other schools, and the feedback we've been getting is like, man, that your guys' message and your guys' things that you're telling me is nothing like else I've heard. I mean, so I think Ken, those guys do an outstanding job with that. So that certainly helps. And then also what we are building, and I think they want to be a part of that. I mean, they see the things that is going on in our program, and all the positive things. I mean, obviously we don't talk about some of the negative stuff like our record last year, but they also see that and say, listen, man, we need some help, and they want to come in here and try to help us get this thing going. So I think all of that collectively has been great. But I mean, certainly we would not be able to get some of these guys if it wasn't for our collective and the work that those guys do. It's a strong collective, and we got to continue to make it stronger in order to continue to bring these type of athletes in our program.
When we were talking to Ken, I asked him about Wes Miller, because he was a college basketball coach too, and he just said that Wes is genuine. And then he kind of said the same thing about you, that you're a genuine guy who's not going to tell anyone what they want to hear. You're going to tell them what they need to hear, and just be transparent. What is it about you that was kind of the way that you've chosen to communicate? Because I can even tell, covering you, that you don't really try to hide stuff. You tell the truth. So what is it about you that you don't want to blow smoke to people, to just try to tell them what they want to hear, to try to recruit them to Cincinnati?
Yeah. Well, I think probably one of the main things is I want myself, but also I want our staff to be who they are. I've been to some places and I've heard the spiel, and I've seen guys put up a front, and try to paint a great picture, and they're not really real. And then whenever the guys get on campus, they're like, whoa, this is not what I thought this was going to be. I want them to know how it's going to be. I want them to know it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard. You're going to have some bad days, but if you get around some people that'll help support you and lift you up as far as coaches and players and your teammates, then you're going to be able to get through it. And, we're all about development. I mean, we're all about getting you every single ounce of potential that you have, we want to get out of you. And so there's some of the things that we tell them. And as soon as they come on campus, as soon as they get around us, they get a feel for who we are. They know we're not putting up a front. They know this is how things are. And I think when you're like that, and you have that ability to hopefully portray that they can trust you. And I think that's what anybody would want. Any recruit or mom or dad would want is be able to trust the coaches, that they're going to tell you and have your best interest at heart, and tell you, not necessarily what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And I think that's resonated with a lot of our guys.
Coach, I would just ask on that front, how much did we see a reflection of that with this new trend of guys transferring somewhere in the winter and then being back in the portal in the spring? Yeah. We didn't see that at Cincinnati, but you saw it a lot of places.
Yeah, no question about that. That's a great point. We talked about that with our staff, and we kind of joked and said, how many of these guys across the country are going to go somewhere and in 6 months going to be heading somewhere else? And so when that happens, either the coach didn't tell them exactly how it was going to be. There was some falsehoods going on there, or the collective didn't tell them exactly what it was going to be. And either way, you've broken trust on a coaching side or a collective side, and they don't want to be a part of that. And I think that's obviously a bad sign. I mean, you don't want to run into that. Now, there could be some extenuating circumstances. I get maybe something else possibly could have happened. Maybe they thought, hey, you're going to come in here and compete for this job, and this guy maybe was just a little bit better than you, and you still want to go start. So maybe you want to try to go somewhere. Maybe that happened a few cases, but I would suspect the first two things that I mentioned was probably the majority of those things. And I'll tell you what else about that. I think if you're going to recruit the transfer guys, then to me, and this is one thing that we told our staff in our recruiting department, go get some character guys. Now, obviously everybody can say, well, yeah, they're in the portal, they're selfish type guys. But that's not really necessarily the case. I think there's a lot of great guys out there that are just looking to come compete at a great place. And so go find those guys. And I think when you find those guys with a little bit of character, they're not going to leave after 6 months. I mean, they're going to hang on and they're going to keep working and be a part of something that they thought they were going to be a part of when they first signed up. And so I think that goes back to what kind of, prospect are you trying to bring into the program also.
We had Nico on earlier today, and he talked about how refreshing it was this summer compared to the summer previous, where the team all came back, and it seemed like all the players were excited to be back and excited to be, back with the staff. Is that something that you really felt today as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys when they're working hard, but they had smiles on their face. They were glad to be back. They know it's going to be a grind this summer, but they want to go. They want to come put the work in. And like I've told a lot of these guys, I mean, this is going to be a short period of time, in their life. And you think about this team and this group will only be together this year. Collectively, just especially now with so much turnover that we're having throughout college football and basketball. So let's make the most of it. Let's continue to work our tails off and get everything we can out of this. So when we look back, we don't have any regrets that, hey, listen, guys, we put everything out on the line. We worked our butts off. Will we have some disappointing moments throughout these next 8 months? I'm sure we will. But if you got the good character guys, we're going to be able to fight through that. And I think that's probably the main difference from last year's team heading into the summer and this year's team. And, because a lot of these guys we recruited in here and they knew how it's going to be. They know how it's going to be. And so I think that's the main difference. And I think here's the other thing. I think some of these guys that maybe didn't stick it out through January or didn't stick it out through this May, they see how the team is now. They see how, if you're not on board and you're not doing the kind of things that we need to be able to do to live up to this standard, then you don't need to be here. And it's kind of at this point, which I really like this as a coach, it's kind of forcing some of them guys out. And so it's going to take a special person to be a part of this team that's going to have the special ingredients that's inside of them to be able to compete. And that's the ones we want in the locker room.
Hey, Coach, I know I talked to you a little bit about it at the golf outing, but it was kind of like with players' development, you see like the biggest jump between in between their first year going into their second year, like how they absorb college football. They have their first off season. They finally kind of have a taste of what it takes to be great, especially when you have a great program with a great staff, great strength coach like you guys have. And as a coach and like with your coaching staff, this being going into your second year, because, you know, coming into a staff, you got a whole new team. You have a whole new team you're working with. You have guys from an old staff that are still there. You're kind of fighting a losing battle like all year long. And I know with 3-9, the record kind of reflected it. But what do you feel like philosophically this year and kind of schematically with your offense that you've really tried to hone in and say, like, all right, this is my off season. This is my second year. I'm taking ownership of this. What would be like one like major point you'd have philosophically for your team and kind of schematically that you've been trying to instill?
I mean, I think probably the big difference is, you know, last year you're coming in, you know, they won 9 games the year before. So you're coming in, you don't really want to rock the boat. You got to like, hey, listen, man, you guys have won a lot of games. You know how to win. Let's come in here and not really try to come in here and screw anything up with that. Well, by doing that, you know, we only had one returning starter. You know, Gerhardt was it on the offensive side. It was a lot. You just didn't know what to expect. Defensively, we had, you know, probably 5 or 6 guys coming back, but again, new defense, you know, all a bunch of new things that were happening, and it just didn't work. And, you know, hindsight's 2020. If you look back, you'd like to go ahead and do like we did this year. Hey, here's how it's going to be. This is what we're doing. If you don't want to be a part of it, then you're not going to be here. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is culturally. But then, you know, schematically now, you know, we have our top 7 offensive linemen back that played last year. You know, a couple of them will be up for All-American this year. You know, you have a 1,000-yard running back coming back this year. You know, you have your top receiver coming back this year. You know, I think our tight end room has upgraded, you know, bringing some guys in here, 2 freshmen brought in, and Joe Royer, who I think is going to be an outstanding tight end. So, you know, I think there's a big difference headed, you know, schematically as far as the personnel that we have coming into this year compared to last year. There's a lot of unknowns. I think this year we have a lot of knowns. You know, we're a team that was a top 30, I think 32 in the country in total offense, 5th in the country in rushing. Didn't throw the ball down the field as well as we have liked, which hopefully will be better this year with Sorsby, with, you know, Lichty's back another year. Tamaj, you know, is a super talented freshman quarterback. So I feel like the quarterback room is better. We got more depth with that, you know, and with guys with experience. And then, you know, you look at defensively, you know, we were one of the worst big play defenses in the country. I mean, we gave up a ton of big plays. I mean, and obviously, and it's very frustrating for fans, for me, for everybody, our whole team, to sit back and look at that. So we went out and brought in 11 new DBs, you know, and I think that's going to give us a lot more competition. It's going to give you a lot more depth. The fact that we're playing 5 DBs at all times, I mean, that's going to help. Hopefully not give up these big plays like we did last year. You know, and so I think just that in general will help our football team. You know, I think there's a lot more knowns. I think there's a lot more guys that have roles on this team that know there's going to know their roles. Last year, everybody's trying to figure all that out. And so that you got a great starting point with that. I think the other thing is you think about leadership. You think about guys last year just trying to figure everything out as well. But now, you know, having gone through that last year, your Corey Connors, your Kendras, you know, your Dingles, your Corleones. I mean, these guys have went through that last year, and man, they've done a great this offseason, leadership wise, and that's just going to feed throughout our whole team.
You bring up those leaders, and we've had.
Sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
We've had a couple of those leaders on today, in guys like Corey Kiner and Dingle and Luke Kendra, and they talk about how this has been the hardest offseason they've ever had. They've talked about how pretty much you have to be coachable, or otherwise you don't fit this culture. They talk about Luke Kendra, surprisingly, as an All-American, talked about how he never even gave the NFL a thought. His only thought was coming back and getting back to work. And getting the taste of last year kind of out of everybody's mouth. How much of a compliment is that to you, and how quickly you've shifted the culture even after a 3-9 season? How does that feel as a coach?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, because I'm proud to be a part of some of these guys that we have. You know, guys like that who, you know, those guys had to write stuff about them last year. We just didn't have enough of them. You know, I mean, because they, you know, obviously, I mean, Kendall's an All-American, and Corey Connor went over 1,000. You know, so we had some good pieces. Now we just didn't have enough of them, and so, you know, they were tasked this offseason to go out and get some more. Let's get some more leaders that we, like you guys, you know, grab some of those guys and pull them in and help continue to grow and build this program. And so I think for them, they didn't want to leave that way. Obviously, you know, these guys are going to be seniors now coming up, you know, and they want to be able to leave this place, you know, better than what we had last year. Obviously, And it's got so much pride, so much tradition. At the golf outing, we're seeing all these, former players, man, and how prideful they are for this program. And there's nothing worse as a coach is to go have to see these guys, when you didn't perform well last year. So, we want to make them all proud. And I want our players to leave here, with their head held high, going out and ending as a winner. I mean, it's particularly like a Kendra and a Corleone, if this is going to be his last year, or Corey Connor. Those guys, I mean, I think they got a lot of pride about them, and I think hopefully they'll go out and show that this year.
Quick question about the Kelsey brother visit. What was it like being around those guys for the first time, getting a sense for who they are and what they're about? And you had to have been incredibly thankful with the amount of time that they spent with your team and the time that they put in to show what it's about to be a Bearcat.
Yeah. Well, I think number one, when we talk about being real and that's who they are. I mean, they are. Every time they've gone anywhere, they're real. They don't try to hide anything. And so for them to come in and share with our team, obviously I've read a bunch about them and heard a lot about them. That's the first time I met them. But for them, I mean, they were 5-year players here. They were guys that came in and switched positions and went to another position and became really, really good at that position. One came as a walk-on. I mean, so to me as a coach, those type stories is what I want our guys to hear. I don't want to really hear about, their Hall of Fame story. Like I don't want to hear the story when they were a Bearcat. Like when they were, lived and walked the halls that our guys were walking and sitting in these rooms that our guys were sitting in now. Yeah, that's what I wanted our guys to hear. And man, they were awesome. They had a great message with that, because that's really what they talked about. They talked about just busting their butt and working hard. And they talked about making mistakes, particularly Travis, making mistakes, getting thrown off the team, having to fight his way back, and then to realize, man, I can't screw this up. I got to freaking go. And he does. And then he gets drafted, and then he continues to develop and get better and better. And now he's obviously one of the best. Everybody wants to see the end story. They didn't want to hear all how hard it was to get to where they got to. And that's what I love to hear about them. And, man, they were so gracious. They were very humble. They shared in the position meeting rooms. Jason met with our O-line probably, 45, 50 minutes. And there Travis goes in there and talks to the tight ends, and then they spend a lot of time with our players. And so, I know those guys were wore out after 3 or 4 days. I know that. I don't think they slept a whole lot, really, quite honestly. But they were trying to hit all the spots that they hit when they went in the nightlife when they were here as well. So, but they were awesome. Man, loved them having them here. But we got a lot of those kind of guys. We've had a lot of guys come back in the spring. We had a bunch of the guys come back. Sauce came back for the spring game. We love it when those guys come back and just hang around our players and share a little bit with our guys about their journey and about how they got to. Because, even like Sauce, Sauce was ranked, well, you guys probably know more than me, ranked 1,400, player in the country coming out or something. I mean, I don't, and he has a 3-year guy in college and he gets drafted like he was. I mean, so, I love the part about coming in and working their butts off and getting to where they are. And that's what it takes.
Before we let you go, I got one last thing. And I think it's important for people to hear this, because I think you understand this. Randy said, as a fan, last year sucked. As a coach, guess what? It also sucked, didn't it?
It sucked really bad. No, as a coach, it is the worst of the worst. Like I can't even describe how bad it is. Like I'm a fan of some teams, right? And when my team doesn't win, I'm pissed off, and and it sucks, but about 3 or 4 hours later, I'm eating dinner and I'm chilling. I'm fine. I'm over it, but this is our profession. This is like my life is this team and the Bearcat boys that we got in the locker room. And we spend so many hours and days trying to put a good product on the field. And when you come out there and it's just not good enough, there's nothing worse. And I really can't describe how bad losing is. I like winning, and winning is awesome, but losing is the worst of the worst. It's I don't know. It's whatever worse than sucked is. I don't know what that word is, but it's way worse than that for me. I promise you that. So like when we were talking to these guys after the season, like the leaders, and they're so motivated, and which is a good thing, right? They're so motivated for how, we didn't do as well last year, this whole off season, this whole summer. That's everything that we're thinking about is how we felt in locker rooms, when those games did not go our way. And, hopefully this year would come out, we're going to be a lot more competitive, and we got to get over the hump. We got to win these close games. We got to get back to the winning ways, and ever how we got to do that. But it's been a great off season so far. We got to keep this going this summer. The summer will be huge for us. But we can't wait to get back out there, man. It's going to be awesome this year.
I think you painted a pretty good picture of what that feels like after you lost to Miami. And then the Tuesday press conference, you said, when I was walking off the field, I just wanted to go in a dark closet and not talk to anyone.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do the entire time.
It's what you really like to do. Just go into a hole and just sit there and not come out, man. Like my life, like our life when we lose, you can't stop and get gas anywhere. You can't go to the grocery store. Not that we have time, but you can't go anywhere. Like I don't even walk in our building and see the other Bearcats that are going to support you. I don't want to see anybody because I feel awful. I don't want to see them. Yeah. So you literally just want to go straight to your office and just get into the film and start grinding. I mean, because you don't want to get that taste out of your mouth. And then when you win, okay, now you want to see everybody. Now you want to go to the grocery store. Now you want to get, now you want to be out and about. So it's amazing, the two total ends of the spectrum. So, hopefully we'll have a lot more of the winning ways.
Yeah, this year, hopefully everyone's like, Coach, you came to get groceries last week. Why are you here again this week?
That's right.
You need groceries again?
That's right. No question.
What's up?
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it. We've been going for 8.5 hours trying to get some money raised for Cincy Reigns and to help you guys out as much as we can. And we're not done with football. We'll talk to Zach Grant here in about an hour or two.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Chad, appreciate you and the rest of the whole crew here, man. Appreciate you guys, all you do for Cincinnati Bearcats, man. We really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Coach. We'll see you at football camps here in about a month.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach. See you.
See you guys.
There you go. Scott Satterfield out. Another head coach in. Doug Martin.
What's up, boys?
Live from the NCAA regionals.
How are you guys?
We are doing fantastic. How about yourself?